academia. I mean, we also partner with them in different sort of research work, in different studies, consultancies, things like that. So our partnerships in the state of Kuwait for the purpose of implementing our agreed program of cooperation with the government of Kuwait involves partnerships with multiple stakeholders in the country. And depending, of course, on the subject and on the...
What exactly you are doing by fighting drugs all over the world, from your own perspective, and the collaboration with the state of Kuwait? What exactly you are doing by fighting the crimes and also the drug, and also by containing it? You're not going to destroy everything, or maybe you're not going to solve everything, but you will contain it, and then you will do something better to stop it from spreading all over the world.
We help countries to do that.
Good.
We don't do it ourselves. We can't do it ourselves.
You show them the way.
We provide it, as I said earlier, we provide the technical support and the know-how and the networks and the knowledge. That's our added value. But we do not do things for countries or institutions, because
that would be interference.
Sort of.
Something like that.
And we don't have the capacity to do it anyway.
But you show them the way, and you give them some kind of guidance to do it.
In view of our presence, our worldwide presence, we're able to bring experiences from elsewhere to share between countries and between institutions. So that's another added value. We can bring experiences that have worked well from China or from, France or from the United States or from Africa to the countries where we are settled, and vice versa. So we promote that kind of exchange.
Now, how would you evaluate the effort that Kuwait is doing by somehow preventing from spreading the negative phenomena in the world? Are you satisfied with that or not?
That's a very broad question.
Really?
Well, I think, here again we return to, if I were going to address it somewhat, because that's a very broad question, but I think if I were going to summarize the issue, I think the positive role that Kuwait plays to solve humanitarian crises, either by supporting or mediating, is something that needs to be noted and is very important. So the mediation role that the state of Kuwait takes in resolving, in trying to get parties at conflict to agree, or the humanitarian and development support that is provided, I think that's a huge contribution.
Final thoughts? Any final thoughts?
Any final thoughts? We would like to thank you for hosting us.
It's our pleasure to have
and
you.
to shed the light on a very important aspect, which is the Sustainable Development Agenda. I second what Zainab was talking about in terms of the role of Kuwait. I think the uniqueness of our role here in Kuwait has to do most with trying to balance advancing the development agenda while also working on positioning the country and its humongous role at the regional, at the global level, whether on the humanitarian front, on the peace and mediation front, or on the resilience and development agenda front.
Well said, well put. Thank you so much for being with us, honestly, and looking forward to meeting you once again here. And also, you might have some kind of more bright news in the world.
Inshallah.
Inshallah, and thank you for the invitation.
Anytime.
Thank you so much.
Well, we would like to thank our dear guest right here in our studio. Her name is Zainab Tuwimi bin Jaloon, correct? And also we have here Dima Al-Khatib, and both are representatives from the United Nations. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you.
You're still with us here at KTV2, and we have another program and another report right here about the Syrian refugees.
As the number of Syrian refugees in neighbouring countries continues to grow, ensuring access to quality healthcare is becoming an increasing challenge. So Kuwait's additional donation recently of $110 million for UNHCR's Syria crisis operations came at an ideal time.
When the UNHCR gave the association the right to provide medical support for the refugees and pay for it, we were very happy. And the Syrian refugees can now start benefiting from the medical services we provide, which include paediatric medicine, reproductive health, dentistry, heart and stomach specializations, and chronic disease treatment.
With the capacity in refugee camps now stretched to an all-time high, nearly 80% of the refugees are actually having to find shelter in the host communities. But as their vulnerability has deepened, more and more have had to resort to living in abandoned buildings, garages, sheds, work sites and informal settlements. Through the financing provided by Kuwait to UN agencies, Salim and his family moved to a new rented house very recently.
We lived in several areas before moving here. It was very hard on the children, but now we are happy, comfortable and feel more secure.
We cannot afford the house's rent. Now we do not pay anything. UNHCR settled us here. We feel comfortable. All the community is very kind.
When you have 100,000 refugees in a country, you have a refugee problem. When you have 1.2 million and they make up 25% of the population of your country, you have a national problem.
There is no country in the world that has so many refugees per capita as Lebanon.
It's very important that we bridge this gap between humanitarian aid for the main purpose of life-saving to more long-term development.
We're recognizing the need to, yes, support the Syrians who have lost everything, but also those host communities, particularly the really poor, who are hosting them.
We are in front of a crisis that is going beyond the standard boundaries. What we need to offer for this exceptional crisis is exceptional means. No? We need to think about out of the box.
As the largest humanitarian disaster since World War II, this crisis needs all of the international community to pull together. Kuwait has been an exceptional leader in this regard. It has hosted 3 pledging conferences successively every year since 2013. The first 2 conferences raised $3.9 billion collectively and $3.8 billion in the last conference alone, with Kuwait pledging $1.3 billion of the total amount.
Well, we have another battle and another program and another fight right here in the state of Kuwait and all over the world. But this time here is going to be about a generation, another immediate action taken in a cooperation between Kuwait and United Nations in establishment of a commitment fighting drugs issues in the abbreviation, and she was going to tell us all about it, which is KNDP. Right here on my right hand is Mrs. Sahar Al-Shawa, and she is a head of a program analyst and also a head of gender and social development program, correct? Mm-hmm. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you so much for the...
Now, let us talk a little bit about the level of commitments on drugs issues and exactly what it means, KNDP.
Okay, so Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Kuwait National Development Plan is the KNDP. So when we design any programs or interventions at UNDP Kuwait, we go parallel with what the government has in mind and identified as a priority to work on. Drug issue is a big issue that was addressed in the Kuwait National Development Plan.
We know the statistics are at the rise, especially with the youth and the juvenile. The drug-related crimes are on the rise, which these are all things that are identified in the Kuwait National Development Plan. And they focus on the health sector, especially with public-private partnerships to tackle this issue. To raise the health level for all citizens is something that has been identified. Some of the issues that were related to that is the violence-related crimes. Crime related to drugs has been also on the rise. So all of these issues has been identified, and the government in KNDP has identified the importance of working, especially the youth interference in that, working on communication and advocacy campaigns to raise the level of awareness and to fight all these unhealthy areas such as drug and crime.
What about the projects, the intervention in Kuwait, and also what exactly that the people that are collaborating with you?
So in our country program, which is our main area of between us, the cooperation between the UNDP and the government of Kuwait, represented by the Supreme Council for Planning and Development, we identified, since it was identified in the KNDP, we focused on this area. We are working, we developed a very strong, hopefully, project with the Ministry of Interior, الإدارة العامة لمكافحة المخدرات, which is the Department for Crime Prevention. The project focuses on prevention, treatment, and rehabilitation, as well as the prevention from relapse, because we know this is a main issue.
So going back to the same thing.
Exactly, because this is an issue with drugs. So it's very comprehensive project that focuses on all the areas that are relevant to drug, and it focuses on several areas. The main, on three outputs. The first one, output one, is focused on having an assessment of the current situation from we know that drugs keep changing very quickly. New drugs coming up with
they have good invention every once in a while.
And very cheap. They give them even nice names to make them even more attractive. So all of these issues has to be documented. We know what new drugs are coming into the market, the new ways of smuggling. We need to have a solid base of information available so we can start from there. So our first output is to collect and have an assessment of what are the current situation, current services available, from all sectors working on the drugs issue, from Ministry of Health, from Ministry of Interior, from Education, Ministry of Education, all sectors.
The media plays a big role.
Of course, Ministry of Information is a component, and we can. We're playing we're partnering with all the stakeholders working on that issue. The second output is about having a national entity that will be like a technical committee that will be able to handle the issue and then develop a strategy, a drug strategy for Kuwait, since we don't have one. And then an action plan also for this, so we can really have a coordinated intervention. We need to coordinate all the efforts. We don't want everybody to play separately, and then it will not be as effective, or it will not have the proper impact that we really want to get from a coordinated effort. So, and then the third output comes, which focuses on two things: capacity building. We need to really invest on building the capacity of these people providing the services, as well as a very comprehensive communication and advocacy campaign. Because we know, the messages even has to be scientific. When you tackle these issues, the message has to be very well written in a way that will touch base on a scientific basis. Otherwise, it will counterattack. It will backfire on you, and it may create a opposite situation.
I have a phone call from a very distinguished guest, and I believe that you might heard of her, Fatma Salma Ayad.
Dr. Fatma, of course.
Dr. Fatma Salma Ayad. She is a friend of ours in the program and the rest of the Ministry of Information. Good evening, Doctor. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you. Good evening.
I have here in the studio also your colleague, I believe. Her name is Sahar Ashawa. She would love to say hi to you.
دكتورة.
Hi, Sahar. How are you?
Unfortunately, she cannot hear you because she's not wearing an earpiece, but I can. Anyway, we were talking about the drugs in the state of Kuwait and exactly the prevention of this fatal substance that most of the children as well as the adults are using it. What exactly you are doing to preventing from spreading this fatal substance in the street of the state of Kuwait?
Actually, it's I don't maybe agree that most of the children, but we have an addiction problem in Kuwait, and I think addiction is a worldwide phenomenon, and we are not immune like as any other society. What we are doing actually, we did a lot, but we need to do more and more because it's a huge problem and it needs a Marshall actually a program for the prevention. The work should be concentrated on three things. The other thing is prevention, so not to start for the and we concentrate our programs on the people or population at high risk, which actually the kids, the secondary school kids, I call them, because this is when the problem starts. Where those are the targets of people who actually distribute or sell the drug, our youth. And so the first thing is, because it's much better, is the prevention. So to stop starting, then a treatment, and after the treatment, we should concentrate on relapse prevention. Prevention, the first thing we should actually work on the awareness, increase the awareness of the children themselves, their parents, the schools, how to discover it, and if you discover or if you, for example, knew that this child or this kid, youth is starting, or how to deal with it. We shouldn't deal with it or consider the addict as or the user, because there is a difference between user and abuser. We shouldn't consider him as a criminal. It should be treated as a drug addiction should be treated as a disease.
A disease.
In this way, yeah, a disease. It's sickness. They have a problem. Not the reason is that they have a problem, but now, the American Psychological Association consider the addiction as a disease, like schizophrenia, like depression. And so by this, we actually can be sure that they will seek attention, they will seek treatment. The problem, if you treat him as a criminal, he'll be afraid, even maybe him, his family, not to seek a treatment, not to ask for our help.
Dr. Fatma, honestly, thank you so much, because we are almost out of time. I would love to turn to Mrs. Sahara Shawa. You have heard exactly what she was talking, and I believe that you and her are seeing eye to eye how to prevent this fatal substance from being like a substance that is going to kill most of our new generation for the next maybe 10 years. Now, let us talk a little bit about the types of drugs, the drugs that is spreading. And you have mentioned that every once in a while you have a brand new drugs that it's in the market and it has the same effectiveness, but it has different names.
Yeah, of course, this is becoming a big issue, especially it's becoming more chemical, with cheaper prices, with more damaging effects, permanent effects from beginning of the use. So this is becoming, and we need to have a database, a proper database to keep track of all of this. طبعا statistics, database, information system, this is what's lacking, a proper one, so we can really have proper statistics, proper numbers, so we can really have decisions that can really attack and tackle these issues. Being informed will make us more prepared to tackle the issue and fight it. And of course, the issue of we have to. My intervention with Dr. Fatma and with we as UNDP, when we first develop any project, we work with all the counterparts that are relevant to the issue. So we had a big meeting with all the stakeholders. We had people from, for example, the Ministry of Awqaf, because we need the interference of religious leaders, the Ministry of Information because of the awareness and media and communication, Ministry of Health because they are providing the service, Ministry of Education, we need to start with kids very soon, and we have it to have in our educational systems. We have Ministry of Social Affairs and the Kuwait Social Development Office. So we had everybody from of course, civil society are a big player. We only don't work with government entities, we also work with civil society as well as private sector. We need to all be together in this fight against drugs.
One final question, and quickly please. Every project, there's an obstacle in front of you. Can you tell us what exactly that it's being held in you from being more successful? I know you are successful, but you would love to see it more successful.
Of course, the statistics are a big issue, are a big obstacles, because you don't have proper numbers. You cannot have proper, what's the percentage? Okay, they say 7% is the percentage of people on drugs, for example, in Kuwait. But this is a big, it's just a number that we really can't verify. So statistics, information system is a must to start.
Wonderful. Mrs. Sahar Ashowa, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you so much.
Anytime. You still with us now? Could you stay here?
Sure.
Please? Yeah, please. Well, you're still with us here in the program, To The Point, but now the name of Kuwait and its role internationally has always been bounded with the name of Sheikh Sabah Al-Ahmed Al-Jabir Al-Sabah, Hafadhahullah wa Ra'ah, His Highness the Amir, has always been playing an important role to humanity. Worldwide, ever since we appointed as a foreign minister in 1963. However, his contribution even increased significantly after 2006 when he became Emir of the state of Kuwait. Thus, Kuwait was chosen as a capital of humanity by the United Nations due to His Highness the Big Heart.
In September 2014, the United Nations honoured His Highness the Emir of Kuwait, Sheikh Sabah Al-Ahmed Al-Jabir Al-Sabah, for his global humanitarian work. It is a recognition of Kuwait's extraordinary partnership with the United Nations and other international organisations, and its extensive and ongoing humanitarian work around the world.
Kuwait's leadership and funding has saved tens of thousands of lives and has galvanized others to participate in coordinated international action. It is good to know that we can count on Kuwait's generosity, and particularly His Highness Emir of Kuwait. Such solidarity and generosity is needed more than ever. I urge more states in the world to come forward with assistance.
We're extremely grateful to His Highness the Emir of Kuwait for the tremendous commitment and support that he has shown to humanitarian action around the world, and the leadership that he has shown.
There would not be so much opportunities for us to do our job without this leadership, without convening pledging conferences, and without the financial contribution that the UN has received.
I think the Secretary General recognised the Emir of Kuwait as an outstanding humanitarian leader simply because he is. Kuwait is a generous country when it comes to helping people in need, and it's important that that gets global recognition.
It was exceptional. One of the memories that I will cherish to my grave, the feeling I will never forget, the reception in the UN, the very heartfelt talk that His Highness gave. I have goosebumps now just even remembering it. It really was something historic.
Your Highness, we thank you and count on your continued support and leadership.
I personally felt it was basically a very small gesture from my side to say thank you to someone who's leading the way.
Well, with this, we come to the conclusion of our program for this evening. Next Wednesday at the same time at 8 o'clock, right to the point, right here on KTV2. Until then, good night and bye-bye.